Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you all this morning to the our annual accreditation event. We're online again this year, like last year. Hopefully, in the next year, we will all be able to meet and celebrate this wonderful achievement of our museum sector. Today, we're celebrating the work of 10 museums who have achieved either full accreditation or maintained their interim accreditation. I'd like to personally congratulate all those organisations. I know the commitment and work that is required in achieving accreditation, and it's particularly challenging in the current environment. So well done to everybody. We're thrilled that you've made the standard, and we commend and admire all your hard work in achieving these standards. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of the coordinator of the programme, Leslie Ann Hayden, who has been unstinting in her own professionalism in ensuring that everything runs smoothly and that we continue to run a very successful and attractive programme, and that it continues to develop and grow and attract many new participants. We're joined today by the Chairman of the Heritage Council, Michael Parsons, and also our guest speaker, Dr. Gillian O'Brien. And it's my pleasure to introduce Gillian to you today. Many of you will know Gillian from her published work, her recent book entitled The Darkness Echoing, Exploring Ireland's Places of Famine, Death and Rebellion, has been very well received. And if you haven't already looked at the book or read the book, I'd strongly encourage you to do so, because the book contains very interesting perspectives on how we remember those darker places from our history. And Gillian's own interest in public history is reflected very much in her writings, not only in this book, but in her previous publication as well, Blood Runs Green, the murder that transfixed Gilded Age Chicago. Many of you will know Gillian through our other work with museums and the heritage sector in Ireland, and she has worked with the teams that developed the interpretive sites at Spike Island, Nanonagle Place, has also worked with Kilmainham Jail and Courthouse. So I'd like you to welcome Gillian this afternoon, and she will speak to us for a short while. That will be followed by the presentation of the certificates and the awards by Leslie Ann, and then the chairman will speak briefly. So we hope to conclude the ceremony at around 1:15. But I'd like to welcome Gillian and invite her to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia, for that very generous introduction, and thanks to Leslie Ann for inviting me to speak here today. It is a real honour to be here today and to join in your celebrations, albeit via Zoom. I think sometimes it takes an absence to make us value what we've taken for granted, and with museums closed for much of the last 18 months, I've been acutely aware of how much museums and galleries and heritage sites were part of my daily life. I'm very excited that my first trip to an Irish museum or gallery this year will be on Thursday, when I visit one of today's awardees, the Crawford in Cork. I was very privileged over the last few years to have visited over 200 museums, galleries and heritage sites as research for my book, The Darkness Echoing. My final research trip was the day before the museums shut in March 2020. I thought I knew the Irish museum sector pretty well, both as someone who'd worked on a lot of exhibitions and hosted museum development workshops, but most importantly as a visitor. But I was astounded by the range of sites that I visited all around the country. And I was continually heartened by the enthusiasm shown, not just in the museums themselves, but from people I met in cafes and pubs and B&Bs, who, when I explained what I was doing, inevitably told me of another place that I simply must visit. There is enormous pride in our museums, both within the sector, but also among the general public. There are enormous challenges in terms of staffing and funding, but today is a day of celebration. I have loved museums since I was a child, and on my travels around Ireland for this book, I took a posse of children with me to see what grabbed their attention. It began largely as a way to spend time with my nieces and nephews and children of friends, but it became a really important part of my research. It was enlightening to see what artifacts, what stories, what buildings grabbed their attention. I remember being in one museum and being overtaken by a young boy aged about 5, who, as he dashed past me towards whatever had caught his attention, shouted back to his mother that this is the best day ever. On another trip, I took my nephew to a museum where at the ticket desk we were told about parts of the exhibition that encouraged dressing up and interaction, and a second part that was more detailed and academic. My nephew piped up and said, "I think that's the bit I'll be really interested in." And he was. I've spent a lot of time in the last year virtually visiting museums, which has been fascinating, but nothing beats the experience of being there. I love peering in cases, trying to find the smallest object on display, or the most incongruous, or the most moving, or the funniest, to my mind at least. I love learning the stories associated with the objects and often the building that they're displayed in. And I think that's the thing about museums, is that there's always a surprise on every visit. The object or painting that lingers long in your mind afterwards is often something small, something unheralded, not always the big headline piece that initially lures you in. Looking at the list of recipients of awards today, it's a remarkable range, both in terms of geography, but also in terms of the sort of site, the geographic spread, and the content within the museums. And I think that's reflective of the broader museum sector. There really is something for everyone. The MSPI programme is rigorous, and your achievement today is hugely important for your museums. It is so heartening to look at the list of recipients who range from national cultural institutions, local authority-run sites, state-run, and those that are largely volunteer-run. And it's heartening to see that museums, large and small, are embracing the Museum Standards programme. This is vital to ensuring the ongoing preservation, development, and documentation of collections, but it also has a visitor focus too, which is hugely important. I know that each museum receiving an award today has had a team dedicated to ensuring a successful museum standards application, whether that's for maintenance or for full accreditation. And I would congratulate everyone involved in those teams. But I also know that these awards are for everyone involved in each site. There are many seen and unseen people working at every site to ensure the excellent visitor experiences, and behind the scenes that the collections are cared for appropriately, acquisitions carefully considered, and policy documents created. Congratulations to all those receiving awards today. I'm sorry that we're not able to celebrate in person, but I hope you are celebrating wherever you are. I think that you were all contributing to many visitors' best stay ever, not just that young boy that ran past me. I'm delighted to have been invited to play a small part in this important event, and I wish you all a summer full of visitors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gillian. And I forgot to say that Gillian is a reader in modern history at Liverpool John Moores University, and we really appreciate her attendance here today and her very well-spoken words. So now I'd like to hand over to Leslie Ann, please.
Hello, I'm Leslie Ann Hayden, the Museum Standards Programme Coordinator. During this part of today's ceremony, I am going to read citations from the MSPI Assessors Reports. I'm so pleased we are acknowledging your achievements today. Just sorry we still can't all be together. I know many of your colleagues are sharing this day with you. Please do use the chat room to let us know you are here and offer your congratulations too. We are celebrating the achievement, as has already been said, of 10 MSPI participants. What is most notable for all, and will come through in their citations, is that these applicants persisted during the early days and months of the pandemic last year. In many ways, MSPI, focusing on their collections and their care, may have been something concrete for many to focus on while their museums and galleries were closed. The flexibility of the MSPI assessor panelists should also be acknowledged. Site visits are a key component of the MSPI assessment. Due to the impact of the current pandemic, it was necessary to carry out the assessments virtually using video conferencing. Applicants sent videos, photographs, and other documents in advance of the virtual site visit, as requested by their assessors. I am now going to read out citations for the 4 participants which have achieved full accreditation, and starting with the Crawford Art Gallery. Crawford Art Gallery received its interim accreditation certificate in 2019. It is led by director Mary McCarthy. While it is invidious to name names, as not all can be mentioned, among the staff I worked closely with through the accreditation process are Sinead Daly, Norma Cudahy, Jean O'Donovan, Dawn Williams, Anne Burdett, Emma Klemenchik, Dr. Michael Waldron, Catherine Coughlin, and most recently sending me photographs for the ceremony, Diane Hanrahan and Kaylee Milner. The Crawford's assessors, Leslie Ann Kerr and Robert Taylor, reported, "The Crawford Art Gallery is a national cultural institution and holds a significant collection of art of national importance with its strengths in 20th century and Irish art. The assessors were impressed by the amount of work that has taken place since the last assessment and the continued commitment of the board and staff. The impact of the current pandemic, while causing a myriad of issues, provided an opportunity for staff to concentrate on specific areas of work related to the standards. This is clear in the quality of the application. The relatively small staff deliver an effective programme of exhibitions and an extensive programme of learning activities. This includes a very effective website, which is helping engage with people who are unable to visit during the coronavirus pandemic. The team is to be congratulated for continuing to provide virtual events and opportunities, for example, the annual animation programme, which was delivered through Zoom. In recommending full accreditation, the assessors congratulated the gallery staff on their achievement. Congratulations to Crawford Art Gallery." And in the photograph, we see Jean O'Donovan with a certificate and the director, Mary McCarthy. Next, the Kilkenny Castle Office of Public Works. Kilkenny Castle is led by Dolores Gaffney, ably assisted by the team including Maëlle Champagnois, Jackie Jordan and Anne Tian. Kilkenny Castle applied for all 34 standards, interim and full accreditation with this application. The assessors Ron Inglis and Liam Bradley noted, "Since its initial assessment, the museum has progressed well, in particular with the scale and quality of restoration work undertaken, the interpretive offer of the castle, and development of a wide-ranging activities programme of the highest standard. The application was very well presented. Much of the work programme in relation to visitor services were compromised in the last year due to the lockdown. The team, however, used the time gained wisely to make significant progress in tackling collections-related issues. The current assessment has confirmed that the team at Kilkenny Castle, drawing on advice and support from within the OPW, are able to meet and exceed the standards required for full accreditation. It is the recommendation of the assessors that the certificate of full accreditation be awarded to the museum. Congratulations to Kilkenny Castle Museum." And in our photograph, we'll move on. We now move on to the Museum of Free Derry. The Museum of Free Derry is one of the few museums that has applied for interim accreditation twice, receiving certificates in 2011 and following a major refurbishment in 2019. The application was prepared by manager-curator Adrian Kerr with the support of colleagues including Jean Hegarty and Robin Percival representing the Bloody Sunday Trust. The Museum of Free Derry is the only MSPI participant located in Northern Ireland. It is also, take note, fellow participants, seeking accreditation under the UK's accreditation scheme overseen by the Northern Ireland Museums Council. The assessors Elaine Sansom and Aidan Walsh reported, "The application was well presented and the videos and materials provided subsequently usefully clarified points prior to the meeting. Since the last assessment, the museum has completed its move of all artefacts from the off-site store, which is very welcome. It has also invested in the Modes Museum documentation system. The museum continues to collect and now holds 10,000 items, largely archival. The visitor numbers continue to grow, doubling the numbers of visitors to the old building and reaching 38,000 in 2019. The small staff continue to deliver an impressive education and engagement programme which help audiences engage with the sensitive content of the museum. The ownership of 90% of the museum's artefacts rests with the families of the Bloody Sunday victims, which the families treasure and value. It has taken advice from MSPI and from the Northern Ireland Museums Council and has developed its museum-specific care and curatorial systems in line with advice. It is a tightly run operation, much dependent on the manager, who has now widened his role through MSPI to work also as a curator of the collections. The assessor's recommended full accreditation is awarded to the Museum of Free Derry. Congratulations to the Museum of Free Derry. And now the last museum achieving, which is receiving full accreditation today. The Thomas MacDonagh Museum is the final participant to be awarded full accreditation. The museum is volunteer run, staffed by CE scheme employees, with the preparation of the application shared among members of the board, including Brenda Ainsworth, Tori McMorrow, May Casey, and Una Johnston. The accreditation process is normally 5 years. The museum board took an extra year between receiving its interim certificate and applying for full accreditation, but last year the pandemic didn't faze them and they submitted their application to complete the process. The assessors Dr. Kevin Mason and Heather McGuicken reported, the Thomas MacDonagh Museum, situated in the small village of Cloughjordan, has rapidly become a cultural hub for the local community. This local connection is further enhanced by the undoubted willingness of all concerned to maintain a welcoming and inclusive facility open to all visitors. Assessors have previously commented on the passion exhibited by the volunteers who manage and operate the museum. The museum was closed to the public for significant periods during 2020. Museum volunteers used the period of closure to improve collections management and to rethink their organisational strategies. They have embraced the principles of MSPI and strived to enhance the standards achieved. As a result, they are confident the museum will continue to thrive. Those involved in the development of the museum readily state that the Museum Standards Programme has helped them identify a clear path in several areas of operation. The level of professionalism, both regarding the application and level of work completed by the volunteers under difficult circumstances, is impressive, and we have no hesitation in recommending that the museum achieves full accreditation. Congratulations to Thomas MacDonagh Museum. Now we move to those who have received maintenance of accreditation certificates. Museums have to submit maintenance applications 3 years after receiving their full accreditation certificate, and then within every 5 years. The first is Dublin Castle State Apartments, OPW. Dublin Castle was awarded full accreditation in 2017. The team was led by Joanne Bannon, Jenny Papasaterio, and Hugh Bonner. MSPI assessor Dr. Kevin Mason reported, the iconic status and significance of Dublin Castle cannot be overstated. It was clearly demonstrated through the assessment process that a comprehensive effort is being made by the Office of Public Works to both raise curatorial standards and to provide an exemplar public service at the site. Previous assessments have noted the importance of the state apartments and the range and quality of education and exhibitions work. I can record further achievements in the collections management processes, participative education services, and important collections research programs. These, coupled with a sensitive approach to identifying customer requirements, enhance the profile of the Office of Public Works as a body fully committed to the development of professional standards. Exhibition and education activities and programs have maintained their excellence, and it is especially important to acknowledge the efforts being made to engage with disadvantaged sections of the community within participative education schemes. This approach has been acknowledged internationally. I have no hesitation in confirming that all the standards have been maintained at Dublin Castle. Congratulations to Dublin Castle State Apartments. And now, Farmleigh OPW. Farmleigh was the first OPW property to achieve all the standards, being awarded its full accreditation certificate in 2011. It was then the first to confirm maintenance of accreditation in 2015, this under the care of Julia Cummins. Its second application for maintenance of accreditation was overseen by Nuala Canny. While accreditation wasn't completely new to Nuala, this was the first time she had led the application. Its assessor, Alex Dawson, reported, Farmleigh is to be acknowledged for its success in continuing to reconcile the very different roles of collections development, care and access with its role as a state guest house and functions venue. However, in recent years, a fundamental shift has occurred in Farmleigh's strategy, which now places the preservation and interpretation of the collections and the care of the building at the heart of all the organisation's activity. Staff speak of this as a pivotal moment, which has driven the professionalisation of their policy and practice. What was some years ago perceived as a government guest house is now perceived to be a heritage and conservation organisation, using a high quality and unique collection to build new audiences. The MSPI standard has given staff a framework for driving forward the strategic change, which is reflected in plans and programming. The application and assessment process demonstrated that Farmleigh continues to maintain the MSPI standards, and in some cases it exceeds them. Farmleigh's governance, management and practice is to a high standard, and staff are to be commended for their professionalism, enthusiasm and commitment. Congratulations to Farmleigh OPW. And now the GAA Museum. The GAA Museum is also receiving its second maintenance certificate today. Its application was led by its curator, Joanne Clark, and director, Niamh McCoy. Its assessor, Elaine Sansom, reported, since the last maintenance review in 2015, the GAA Museum has remained committed to maintaining the standards. The museum has achieved much of note over the last 5 years, including significant development of the front of house and related IT systems. The outstanding range of exhibitions, educational events aimed at providing accessibility and inclusivity to multiple audiences, and improvements to collections access via the online archive and website. Most recently, the museum has developed and delivered the high-profile Bloody Sunday exhibition, accompanied by an extensive series of lectures and events, plus the hugely successful Sport, Peace and Reconciliation Summer School that took place on site last August. All of this has been accomplished in tandem with achieving significant year-on-year growth in visitor numbers and profit. It continues to be notable that the museum's impressive achievements are the result of a very small staff working closely with a committed board that provides clear strategic direction and support for the museum's development. On the basis of this assessment, my recommendation to the Heritage Council is for maintenance of accreditation. The governing bodies and management of the GAA and the GAA Museum are congratulated on this achievement. Congratulations to the GAA Museum. We now move on to celebrate one of Ireland's 12 local authority museums, Galway City Museum. Galway City Museum's team is led by the director, Ethna Verling, which should be noted was the Heritage Council's Museum and Archives Officer. In that role, she worked with the Irish museum sector to develop an accreditation for Irish museums, the Museum Standards Programme for Ireland. Ethna's team includes Helen Birmingham and other colleagues who have worked hard for this application. Its assessor, Robert Taylor, reported, the success of Galway City Museum is a result of the support of the City Council and the enthusiasm and dedication of its staff. The museum demonstrates high standards of collections management, which underpins their activities of education and public engagement. At the time of the assessment, the museum was preparing to start a major redevelopment project, which will provide new opportunities for exhibition and improved environmental control. The application was very well presented. Like all other cultural institutions, the museum has had a prolonged closure during the pandemic, but at the time of the assessment, the museum had reopened its ground floor exhibitions to visitors, mainly by appointment, with mitigation measures in place. The museum has continued to develop since the last assessment. Galway won the European Capital of Culture designation for 2020, and although was badly affected by the coronavirus outbreak, the museum produced a major multidisciplinary exhibition entitled Monument. This celebrates the cultural landscapes of the islands in Europe and focuses on the Aran Islands in Galway Bay. Since achieving full accreditation in 2017, the museum has continued to maintain the interim and full standards required for the Museum Standards Programme for Ireland. Congratulations to Galway City Museum. And now the Highlanes Gallery. Showing the diversity of participants in the programme, we move on to celebrate one of Ireland's leading contemporary art galleries, Highlanes Gallery, which also cares for the Drogheda Municipal Collection. Highlands Gallery's application was led by its director, Aoife Ruane, assisted by Operations and Security Manager, Stephen Hodgins. Highlands Gallery also achieved full accreditation in 2017. Its assessor, Rachel Hunter, reported, "It is very encouraging to see ongoing progress as Highlands Gallery Board of Directors and staff continue to apply and invest in the standards underpinning the MSPI programme. Particularly evident is a strong emphasis on programming and the quality of visitor experience. The gallery's exhibition policy is clearly influenced by a good understanding of audiences underpinned by regular visitor surveys and analysis of statistic and qualitative data. Behind the scenes, there has also been significant progress in collections care, with physical improvements to the store, better seals on doors and windows in the building, and an increased application of monitoring and analysis of environmental conditions and plans to improve gallery lighting. Also commendable is the resilience being shown in the face of the COVID-19 crisis. Staff at Highlands Gallery responded quickly and creatively, ensuring that the gallery has a strong presence in the local community and continues to make plans for partnerships and cross-border working. Following a review of the application, the assessor recommends that a certificate confirming maintenance of accreditation be awarded. The assessor commends the high quality of the application, and staff are to be congratulated for the thorough production and clear presentation of all required evidence and documentation. Congratulations to Highlands Gallery. And now, last but not least of the MSPI participants being celebrated today, and last but not least of the 4 Office of Public Works properties being acknowledged. Rathfarnham Castle, OPW. Rathfarnham Castle was also awarded full accreditation in 2017. The application was overseen by its curator, Catherine O'Connor. Its assessor, Ron Inglis, reported, "Since the last assessment, the museum has progressed well, in particular with its regular programme of activities and also with the near total elimination of the backlog in documentation of collections highlighted in 2016. It was clear from the application and detailed discussions during the assessment that great organisational and staff resilience was evident in the immediate and continued response to the pandemic lockdown. There was a clear recognition of opportunity within the current crisis. It was also apparent that the museum has made very considerable progress, and staff have developed accordingly through engagement with the Museum Standards Programme. The collections manager displayed a thorough knowledge of the standards and the actions required for maintenance of accreditation. The impact of COVID is likely to have far-reaching impact on the sector as a whole, and it was reassuring that the team at Rathfarnham were looking at how to move the very full programme to a digital platform. Rathfarnham Castle has a small team, but the site is well managed and cared for and continues to meet all the criteria required within the Museum Standards Programme for Ireland. It is therefore recommended that a certificate confirming maintenance of accreditation be awarded. Congratulations to Rathfarnham Castle OPW. That ends the citations. At the last ceremony in February, I mentioned you would now be having more photographs taken and thinking about a lovely lunch together. Alas, still not to be. But I look forward to next year when I hope the Heritage Council can bring 2019, 2020 and 2021's applicants together to celebrate their success. Congratulations to all involved. I will now hand over to the Chairman of the Heritage Council, Michael Parsons, who will say a few words of farewell.
Thank you very much, Leslie Ann. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to celebrate the continued achievements and aspirations of our vitally important museum sector in these challenging times. Museums provide spaces to explore diversity, to interact with other cultures and beliefs, research and find inspiration, to inform the future, as well as call up the past. As we all know, museums and collections can create a sense of place in a town or region, generating a sense of pride and well-being among the people living there. Now more than ever, it is essential to preserve and protect our stories, our treasures, our collections for present and future generations. The Heritage Council sees its role in supporting our museum sector by organising the Museum Standards Programme. Now, taking part in the Standards Programme is a public promise made by each participant to care for the collection in perpetuity. Achieving accreditation shows you are meeting the promise. I wish to join with previous speakers in thanking all of you who participated today. To those who have achieved accreditation, congratulations again. A special thanks to Dr. Gillian O'Brien for her insightful words at today's proceedings. I enjoyed the thought of the 5-year-old galloping around. That is exactly the sort of, we want to reach all ages, but we start with the 5-year-olds. Thanks also, of course, to Virginia Tehan, our Chief Executive. Leslie Ann Hayden, our Programme Coordinator, Martina Malone and Mark O'Regan for organising today. And I want to wish Beatrice Kelly a speedy recovery. May everyone in our museums keep up the excellent work. Keep safe. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And again, I'd just like to reiterate Michael's thanks to everyone who participated in today's event, and to also personally congratulate so many of you out there. There are 74 attendees at this webinar. It's really sad that we can't meet in person, and that's going to be some party, Leslie Ann, when we bring together the 2019, 2020 and 2021 awardees. We'll have to get a big space maybe in Kilkenny Castle, I think it's time to accommodate everybody. But it's a pleasure for us to run this programme, and it's a pleasure for us to work with all of you. So thanks again for your continued support, collegiality and friendship. And we leave with a few images from today. Thank you. Goodbye.